wife Cindy and I are away for the weekend, and here we are with Wi-Fi going live all over the world. So thank you so much for making the time to join me, and thank you to all of you who have been regularly watching this live stream. It's my pleasure to bring you this live stream here because A Course in Miracles has touched my life and made such a profound impact on me that it's really a joy for me to share my experience with you. And I think the emphasis on shared is really important because while we study spirituality and we practice spirituality in what looks like a situation where we're all alone, right? There is a tremendous community element here on Enlightened World Network. And with A Course in Miracles in general, there are groups out there. There are study groups online, in-person groups. And, I don't know if where you are, you're able to meet with other people in person, but these are wonderful tools to bounce ideas off of and share your experience with other people that are doing the same thing as you, that are going through the course workbook, that are reading the text, that may be doing both at the same time. There's a tremendous gift in being able to share all of this experience. This is how we learn, because as the course teaches, and I wholeheartedly, fully agree, we're always teaching. Every time you show up, you're teaching. Right? Energetically, we communicate to other people. We communicate to the world around us. And the question then becomes for us, what are we communicating? And there again lies the fundamental choice behind all of spirituality, including A Course in Miracles, is, are you choosing love or are you choosing fear? So that's what you're teaching. If you're making a choice for love, you communicate love. And what happens when you communicate love? I just like to point to the example of somebody walking down the street with a smile on their face, smiling at people, saying hello, just pleasant. And what's your experience? Well, you're more apt to say hello back, or to feel good, to feel more joyful, to feel happier, more comfortable in the presence of somebody who's smiling and saying good morning, for example, rather than somebody that walks down the street in a state of fear with a panicky sort of energy, maybe even frowning, scowling. I mean, maybe even to the extreme of telling people off, right? Which do you feel more comfortable with? We're always teaching, therefore we're always learning. And this is really well done in a community. So that's an emphasis on sharing that A Course in Miracles really lends itself to. So if you've never participated in a group, if that's something that appeals to you, you might want to check it out, because yes, only we can make the decision moment to moment to choose love. We have to do that on our own. We get to do that on our own, but it really does help to have a sense of community. And there may be some of these exercises that don't make a lot of sense, including today's, which we'll get to. And to the extent that that's true, you might find someone else's perspective really resonant. You might find that somebody has an experience or a point of view on a daily lesson or something that may be troubling you, that might be baffling, or maybe you're resistant somehow to letting a barrier go. This comes up all the time. And in fact, if that's coming up for you right now, well, then you're in the right place. I will tell you that. You're absolutely in the right place. You're on the right path. And thank you to all of you who are tuning in and for sharing this as well. Now, this is really powerful as a shared message. So to all of you who are sharing this live stream and have shared them in the past, thank you so much for doing that. Okay. So let's pick this guy up here and get right into it. We're looking at lesson 7 today. Lesson 7 is very fundamental, and it's one that takes explanation. I mean, it does. It takes a lot of explanation, because if you're not familiar with this type of thought system, if you're not familiar with a non-dual thought system, then this could be something that maybe generates some resistance. Honestly, it could. And the first sentence here says it's particularly difficult, actually, not maybe is, particularly difficult to believe at first. And the idea is, I see only the past. I see only the past. Literally, in looking at this camera right now and speaking to you, this computer, it's only the past. This ring light is only the past. These curtains behind me, it's only the past. The mirrors behind me, the painting behind me, all of it. All of it. Without exception, it's only the past. So if you've been following along here this week when we've gotten started, the Course tells us, and we can read it verbatim, that this idea is particularly difficult to believe at first. It's the rationale, however, for all of the preceding ideas. It's the reason that nothing we see means anything. And when we look at our forms of upset, whether it takes the form of being frustrated or anxious or remorseful, angry, whatever it is, right? This is the reason why we do not understand anything we see. It's the reason why we're never upset for the reasons that we think, right? And we've talked a little bit about this, but let's go into this today a little bit more, a little bit deeper. Why would this be? We're never upset for the reasons that we think. Why? Well, because we're seeing only the past. So the Course workbook here wants us to take a look and examine this, and it's helpful in terms of an object. All right. Now, the commentary here for lesson 7 uses a cup, for example. And, well, so what is it when you hold an object in your hand? I've got my cell phone, which I'll be checking for your comments and questions in just a few minutes, but let's use this as an example. Okay. What is this? Well, we've all agreed that we call it a phone. And I've got it's 10:12 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and there's my lock screen. That was actually shot right out here in Saguaro National Park, incidentally. But we agree that this is a phone, but you know, what really is this? How do we formulate that? Number one, through the use of language, symbolism. We've agreed that this thing is called a cell phone in English. Anyway, that's what we call it. And okay, well, our impressions of this are based on our past experience. That's how we know what it's for. That's how we know that when we turn this device on, that we'll have a number of apps at our disposal, including a phone app where we can place a phone call and talk to people. We can check our email. We can check our Facebook feed, our Twitter thread, whatever it is, we can browse online. Everything that we are currently experiencing about this device, about this thing that we call a cell phone, is based on past impressions. It's based on what we have used it for in the past. It's based on the messages that we get from the media, from other people about what this is for. This applies to anything. The Course Workbook has us look at a cup and think about the feelings, the sensations of picking it up, the sensations of taking a sip of liquid from it, whether it's coffee, water, juice, whatever it is, not the sensation of it on our lips. Everything, our experience of any object is based on our past impressions. And if you apply that across the board to every single thing that you see, it's a natural extension to realize, okay, I'm actually looking at the past. I see only the past. And what we're doing with Workbook Lesson 7 is just looking around us 3 or 4 times a day for no more than a minute to just look around and apply the idea. Once again, this is all that A Course in Miracles asks of us, is that we just take the idea for the day and apply it. Nothing more is required. Nothing more is required than that. So this would look like, I see only the past in this computer. I see only the past in this couch. I see only the past in this jacket. I see only the past in this zipper. I see only the past in this face. I see only the past in this body. I see only the past in this wall. And looking out, I see only the past in this tree. I see only the past in this palm tree. I see only the past in this telephone pole. I see only the past in this blue sky. And just apply it indiscriminately, again, to whatever it is that you see. So why is this important? Well, everything that we see around us and appear to be experiencing is not who we are. That we're having an experience of not being ourselves, right? Of not knowing, not even realizing who and what we really are. All of this experience around us is in fact the past. Now, if this is an idea that you find difficult to grasp, that's actually quite all right. And I do want to speak to that because the workbook brings these things up for us. It does. It's designed to challenge our assumptions and get us to question our very fundamental assumptions of who and what we are and all of our experience. So if it's difficult to understand intellectually in terms of the cognitive thinking mind, that's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay. And it's perfectly by design as well. We're not supposed to intellectually grasp this. This is about experience. Therefore, the workbook says just for a minute, no more than that, 3, 4 times today, just apply the idea. That's all we ask is just let's apply the idea. I see only the past in this object, whatever it is, then on to the next object. Just apply the idea. It's about the experience and not first and foremost intellectual understanding, because the reality of who we are is in fact beyond intellectual understanding. It is in experience. So love, true, unbridled, true love, God, spirit, is beyond intellectual understanding. The intellect, the mind, can only approach it, but can't grasp it. It's about the experience itself. So bear that in mind, right? If it seems to be a difficult idea to wrap your mind around, as we say, wrap your head around it. Well, what does that actually mean? It means intellectually conceive of it. Now just let that go as to the best of your ability and just practice. And this workbook intends to work slowly for us. Now, these are things that can be grasped and experienced all in a blinding flash. Yes, but does that really happen for so many people? Well, it may. But most of us need time. And as A Course in Miracles says, and this is very important, that is what time is in fact for. That's what time is for us to grow into and have these experiences. All right, so while I see only the past in this cell phone, I'm going to look at the comments here. And if you have questions, let's take a couple of questions here on the live stream. And hello, everybody that's joining us. All right, so Deidre has a question. All right, if we're experiencing only the now, how do we apply the past now Are we to just accept it because the Course advises us to? Is it a matter of practice? Yeah, the experience is all about practice. That's why these are called practice periods in the workbook. Now, reality is just the present moment, right? And we're not in the present moment most of the time. We're thinking about the past. We're actually seeing, as we see in this workbook exercise, only the past. We're thinking about the past too, if you think about it. How often do we find ourselves thinking about yesterday or a childhood memory, for example, whether it's pleasant or whether it's unpleasant? Doesn't make any difference. It's the past, right? Or we're not in the present, thinking about the future. We're using this present moment to be anywhere other than where we are. And that is the practice of spirituality, is returning us to the present moment, where we actually are, to who we in fact really are. That's the aim of meditation, for example. Yeah, great question. I love this. So, thank you. Good. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. And yes, if there are any other questions, feel free to type them here in the comments. And thank you for joining and sharing here, by the way. I love to make this as interactive as we can. Yeah. And if you're catching this, by the way, on the replay, I do check the comments several times during the day. So if you want to leave a question or a comment for me, please feel welcome to do that. And I'd be most happy to answer you on this. So this is a really important fundamental concept. And the more we experience it, the more we find that it's true. Now, I was not super resistant myself to this idea, but the first time I went through the workbook, I found that I forgot the practice exercises a lot. It says do it 3 or 4 times a day. Yeah, there were days where I would forget. I would sit down, I would meditate because I always have a daily morning ritual where sit down and read something in the Course in Miracles. At the time, it was the workbook exercises, then do a meditation practice and incorporate the lesson. There were days where I would forget to do that. Again, if it called for 3 or 4 practice periods, I would forget until it got to be, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and it was time to go to bed. And if that's the case, just whenever you remember it, and yeah, we literally are seeing the past. And all of our experience is based on our past impressions of things. So, to the extent that we're able to practice these ideas for the day, definitely do that. And again, I can't stress enough that when people go through A Course in Miracles, it brings up all of our stories, our limiting beliefs, the stories that we use, whether we want to or not, we use them to keep ourselves stuck. And that is, the stories like, well, I can't seem to do that, or this just isn't for me, those types of things. Brings it up. The labels that we place on ourselves, like I can't follow through with anything. I'm trying to do this for the 5th time, and I can't follow through. I can't follow through with things. That's a label that we place on ourselves. This is going to bring that up. And it's bringing it up so we can see it, feel it, and release it. That's what it's for. So any resistance that you may encounter, that's good. It's coming up for release. So as we move forward, let's all bear that in mind. And again, thank you so much for joining me and tuning in. It's really my pleasure to be able to share this experience and this extraordinary spiritual curriculum with all of you. So thank you for joining me. All right, this has been A Course in Miracles 365, and I will see you all again tomorrow. So check the show guide for details. Tomorrow it'll be 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll see you then.